Hey guys, I apologize in advance for my voice. I have a cold, so it's very nasally, and we have a really big rainstorm right now, so you might hear thunder too. But anyway, I've been wanting to share with you my best tips on making liver. And what I have found is it's so much better if you find someone on a farm who has a freshly slaughtered cow and use fresh liver. It's way better. It's almost like a different meat than what they have in the store. So let me go ahead and explain to you step by step how you make this. So get out your pencils and uh, okay, I'm kind of hoping people who are bored of that topic may be left already because this video is not about that, as most of you know. What I want to talk to you about is SA. It's one of those words we're not allowed to say on YouTube, like unaliving yourself, the R word, when a person forces themselves on someone else, that R word. So anyway, I guess I just start out by saying a little bit about women's rights that has upset me is I'm really upset that the Supreme Court took away a constitutional right that we had for 50 years. To me, what good is the Constitution if they can renege on it at any point? And what's next? Maybe our right to vote? You might think that's far-fetched, but who would have known they'd take away this other right? And I'm just saying this isn't to do with whether or not you support the choice of abortion. This is about a group of predominantly white old men making decisions about what women can do with their own bodies, and I object to that. I don't like, I think there should be choice for people because not everybody, if you're against abortion, maybe not everybody else is. Shouldn't everybody get to choose what's best for them between them and their doctor? So that has really upset me. Let's see. Now, I want to say that I'm mainly focusing on women's issues, but this is a problem against men too. It's a crime against people, assault. I was talking on the phone once to a really good friend of mine. I used to be a gamer, and he's a guy who ran for Congress at one time. I'm not gonna say his name. He did not win, but really nice person. Anyway, we were talking about a lot of different issues. He's a man of color, so we were talking about racism and stuff. And then I told him, just out of the blue, I told him, Me Too. And you guys, are you familiar with that? The Me Too movement was where somebody would put Me Too on social media somewhere just so everybody could see how prevalent this problem is. Anyway, I said that to him, and guess what he said back? Me Too as well. And I was like, oh my God. And apparently when he was a child, a babysitter was taking like naked photos of him. And so this effect can affect anyone, but I'm mainly speaking to women's rights. Okay, this issue with assaulting women is so prevalent. I think it's an epidemic. It's so prevalent, I can tell you, in the nursing, in the medical field. At one point, I can't remember how many years ago, at least 18, I think, they started teaching everybody that anytime you have an appointment with a female, whether it's a general doctor, a nurse in the hospital, anywhere, when you're covering their medical history, you should always ask them, do you feel safe at home? That should always be. And another change they made was that every other time I renew my RN license, one of my continuing ed courses has to be on domestic assault, domestic abuse. Every third time I have to take a course on sorry, I just had a mental blank. Wendy, sexual trafficking. I'm not sure if I was supposed to say that, but because that's another problem way out of control. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I just want to tell you, when I was assaulted by my brother, I was in my 50s. It was the night of my mother's funeral that this happened. And a few different things happened to me, and I'm going to tell you what happened. Number one, I couldn't talk about it. Other than in the morning, I told both of my sisters because I was deathly afraid all of the females in our family were at risk. And then, of course, when I came home and I was pretty traumatized, I told my husband and my two teenage sons who still lived at home, I told them what happened. But other than that, I just couldn't talk about it. Um, and I blamed myself. And I know better. I knew as a nurse that victims tend to blame themselves. And I remember thinking, what did I do to send mixed signals? I must have done something. Why on earth do you blame yourself? And for that matter, if somebody's a responsible, good person, they aren't going to try to force themselves on their sister, even if they are getting mixed messages. So it was just kind of ridiculous. Okay, the other thing was, my sisters told the rest of the family what happened and that I was lying and I made the whole thing up. And my brother, he's passed away now, but he was a registered sex offender. He was in prison most of his adult life because he got caught having sex with his girlfriend's 13-year-old daughter, ongoing, not a one-time thing. And so but I talked to my therapist about this, and she said it's too horrifying to think that he did that. It's much easier for them to accept that you're a liar. So that's what happened. And I want to tell you something. It was much more painful to me, my family betraying me, than what happened with my brother, because I already knew he was a very troubled criminal person. And but my family, the betrayal, that hurt. So that really hurt. Okay, let's see. I got some notes here. So my therapist encouraged me to talk about it, and I told her I just can't. And she said, well, when you're comfortable, find one or two good friends and tell them what happened. And she said, you're going to find this is going to really help your healing. And she was right. And that's one reason I'm even talking to you guys about it now. And that's because I really care about you guys. I've become so fond of this community. And because this is such a prevalent problem, even if you haven't experienced this, I guarantee you there are people you know in your life, whether they've told you about it or not, this is affecting a lot of people. I can tell you, my next door neighbor, they had 3 daughters. The oldest one was Ard. My older sister, when she went to a fraternity party when she was at college at Wittenberg, and she was very naive and young and she drank too much. And her friends that had gone to the party with her left without her. And she was gang Ard at that party. Well, I know a lot of people who have been assaulted anyway. So mainly I just want to encourage anybody, if you feel like you can't talk about it, it's going to help you on your healing. And you know what happened with me was, do you guys remember when I was on a show with Judy and Vince? And Vince, Vince likes to ask a lot of sexual questions. And in the course of our conversation, I told him that my ex-husband had cheated on me and that I had found out in a very traumatic way because he gave me STIs, or might think of them as STDs or VD, right? And right away, Judy said, and I don't blame Judy, but Judy said right away, Patty, I can't believe you said that. But you know what? I feel the same way about that. Somebody else made a bad decision. Why should I go through my life feeling embarrassed and ashamed because of what someone else did? And so I just feel like I would really, anything I can do to empower women, I want to be a part of, because it's so important to me. And because I've been there, I've been through it. I know what it was like. Now, let's see where I'm in my notes. Okay, so another reason I talk about this is because I am under no disillusionment that I have to be a perfect person. I make mistakes, and as you guys have probably noticed this trend, I do speak out. I am comfortable telling you a lot of things, even personal things. Now, I went to therapy. I told a couple of friends. I thought I was doing great. And then many years later, and I was no longer in therapy, I had a nightmare. And I dreamed my brother was assaulting me. And it was really weird because I was in a bedroom that had two twin beds, and across from me, I could see a little girl sitting there looking at me. My brother tried to assault me when I was 10 years old. I think that was the significance of that dream. And I remember my brother kept getting up on top of me, and I kept throwing him off with all my might, but I knew he kept coming back, and I knew eventually I was going to lose the war. I wasn't strong enough. So I was screaming to that child, "Get out of here, run!" And then, as this nightmare went on, I started screaming for my mother. Um, and you know how when you dream, you can't speak or scream, even if it's a scary dream? And I could remember having that feeling, I need my mother, I need help. And I put all my effort into it. At that point, my husband, who was awake, thought our dog was whimpering, and he was getting ready his phone out to take a video because he thought I was going to think, oh, how cute, Addie was whimpering. But then I don't know how I did it asleep, but I started screaming for my mother, blue bloody murder. And he realized it was me. And all I know is when I woke up, my husband's face was right in my face, and he looked really concerned and really worried. And that night before we went to bed, we had watched a movie on TV that involved the R of a young girl. I think that's what set it off in me. And so the next day, I just felt so traumatized and thinking, I thought I had healed from this. I thought I was doing so great. And and you know what I did? I turned to my best friend. This is my best friend, LaRuby. I wanted to surprise you guys that she's here.
Surprise.
And she just has this gift. Well, not only is she very much an advocate for women, but she has the gift of always knowing the right thing to say. And I remember in that conversation, one of the things she told me was how it leaves an imprint on you when you get abused like that. It leaves an imprint on you. And I've heard somebody recently talking to Congress, I think, saying it changes your brain chemistry. So I don't want to depress anybody out there that you never completely, you heal from it, but you're changed, and you will never, ever again be a person who hasn't been assaulted. That you will always carry that with you. And I talked to LaRuby, and she just knew what to tell me. And one of the things that really helped was she said to me, do you realize how brave you are? You not only survived that when it happened, you survive it again every time you think about it or dream about it. And it was so empowering. So anyway, I asked my friend LaRuby if she wanted to add to this because she's just such an advocate. She's the smartest person I know. Why she hasn't been on Jeopardy, I have no idea. But she's like the most wonderful person I know ever. I always call her my best friend. But the thing is, everybody claims her as their best friend. Everybody loves this woman.
Oh.
So she's been kind enough to let me finish my whole spiel because you guys know how I've trouble with keeping my train of thought. Probably would have been easier for her to chime in, but I thought I would just turn it over to her now. And you can. If you have anything to add, I mean, she has been an ally and an advocate for people who are being abused in her workplace. I mean, this is something she's very familiar with. So,
too familiar with it. Hello there. I'm LaRuby. Let me tell you, first of all, that in my faith tradition, which is Unitarian Universalist, they have education, sexual education, for all ages. So they have one that goes from birth to 3 and one that goes from 3 to 6. And they're all these different levels of sex education for children and then adults too. So, planned out so that it works for their age group. And it's called Our Whole Lives. And the reason I bring this up is because people are sexual their whole life. And the other part of it is, if you've been assaulted, that stays with you your whole life. And there's no way of getting around it. You've had this trauma, and it's always there, and things can trigger it. And you'll never know what triggers it until it happens. But it is true that since you lived through it once, you live through it again each time you get triggered, and you survive it each time you get triggered. So really, the the strength in this, the whole thing about being ard, as I've learned, I should say, is that it's a power play. It's a power play. It's because the people who do it are usually somehow um, they have very low self-esteem or something, so they have to have somebody they're more powerful than, and that turns out to be, lucky us, women usually, though men too. Lots of men are set have that are happen to them. Now, um, I had a very different. Well, it wasn't that different. My What happened to me was I was also in this position, put in this position by my brother. But the big difference was that I was ages 3 through 6. Now, I know I didn't send any signals to say, hey, baby, come on over. I know I didn't. I was
Mhm.
3 to 6. I had no idea. All I knew was here was this brother of mine who was 10 years older than me. The only time he ever gave me some attention was when, let's go do this game. Okay. Well, that's the only time he ever gave me any attention. I was lower than a snake's belly in a wagon wheel ride. I was just the younger sister. I was awful. But he was, he wanted to be around me sometimes, and it was only to play that game. And I'll tell you what, as soon as I said to him at a party where lots of people were there and friends of my parents, my grandparents, I went up to him and I said, hey, can we play that little game? And he got so scared. And he said to me, don't you ever say anything about that again. We're never playing that game again. And I was heartbroken because I thought, oh my God, he doesn't like me anymore. And I had no idea what he was doing was wrong. I had no idea I was a victim. I had no idea about anything. But I tell you what, bringing the truth up scares the heck out of the people doing the assaulting. Scares the heck out of them because they're going to be found out. And that's why the Me Too movement was so powerful and so engaging, and why so many people joined it. And in my faith tradition, my congregation one time had they had a service about people who had this happen to them. And they said, if you are comfortable, stand up if you belong to the Me Too movement. And
Really?
a good 1/3 of the women stood up. A good 1/3. There might have been a couple of men, but at least a third of them stood up. And it's like, you know, there is power in the truth, which we're finding out more and more in this country. The more you tell truth, the more power you're going to have. And I have a friend whose daughter is very mentally ill, and we couldn't figure out why for a while until she asked her friend. She said, "Is it weird that I'm 14 and my dad wants to shower with me?" I was like, "Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that shouldn't be happening." And it turned out that had this happening to her by her father for years and years and years. And she was so afraid to be anywhere near him. They got divorced, thank God. She was so afraid to be anywhere near him. And I visited once and I said, "Can I talk to you?" And she was very closed up. She was always like this, trying to protect herself. And she said, "What about?" And I said, "About our shared experience. I'd like to let you know about it and how it affects you as you grow older." So I said to her, "You're so afraid of seeing him, but right now you have the truth on your side. And the more you tell it, the stronger you become, the weaker they become. Now you're the one who has the power. Now they're the one who is scared. And don't ever give up that power of the truth. You keep telling what happened, and you name the perpetrator, and you say it was never my fault. It couldn't have been my fault. I was too young to know. I I was just there. It happened to me. I did not cause it." And what talking about my our whole lives, my the the fallout from what happened to me was that I thought, well, I have to be sexual to be attractive at all, and became a sex addict. And that could have ruined my life if I hadn't gotten around to, oh, and I did not remember it until I went to counseling and I said, wait a minute. I do remember, oh, wait a minute, because I didn't know what it was. And now that once I knew what it was like, oh, that's what he was doing to me. And when that happened, then I started to heal from it. And then I got over my sexual addiction. And I had a very different family reaction to it because at age 36, which was a good 30 years after the abuse had stopped, I wrote to all my family, to my parents and my siblings, including the abuser, and said, "This is what happened to me. You all don't know about it. I didn't know even what to call it, but now I do, and I want you to know this is what happened to me. And I'd like you all to meet me at my counselors," which they did. And we talked through it. And my parents were just dumbfounded because they thought, "Oh, we're leaving her with a responsible person who's going to take care of her." Nope. And they left me with a perpetrator who thought it was just fine to take advantage of this person because this person was female and weaker, physically weaker, and female. And so that was all right for him to do that. And I said, "Well, I was worried about your daughter." And he said, "Oh, I would never do that to my daughter." I said, "Why not? You did it to me. Why wouldn't you do it to your daughter?" So he was, let's just say, karma caught up with him. And I believe that my karma's catching up to me because I'm getting it. I'm getting the good karma coming, which is why I got Patty.
Aw,
Because she's
no.
part of the good
No,
karma.
I'm the lucky one.
And she's getting the good karma too because she has brought the truth to light and to help you all to know there's no way this is your fault. If this happens to you, there's no way you need to be quiet about it. Go to the police. Do it right away. Go get an R kit at the hospital. Press charges. Call this what it is. I dislike that it's called an assault. I'm a linguist by trade, and I believe words have power, and I think it should be called the S crime, not an assault. It's not just assaulting. It's not. It's
Criminal.
crime. It's criminal. It's a violent criminal act. Do not feel it's your fault. It's not. Never was your fault. Get help for it and realize none of this was your fault. This is somebody else. She calls it bad choices. Yeah, it's a bad choice. I
A
think
bad decision.
a bad decision.
But
I
it's
also
more than that. I just want to
believe-
make the point. We didn't decide to
Right.
become a criminal, yeah.
right. And
But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
and I think we are socialized in this country at least, and pretty much all over the world, that women are less than. We're property. We'd been chattel for how long? When did we first get our own credit cards? 1975 or something. So this is just misogyny writ large by a society who sees us as less. And we're not. We are the stronger people because once that stops, once the assault is done, we're the ones with the power. They had the power first. We got the power now because we got the truth and we know what's right and we know they were wrong and they're criminal. That's all there is to it. So please, if it happens to you, if you know of someone it happens to, give them support and keep telling them. If you have to tell them every 10 minutes, this is not your fault. There's no way this could have been your fault. This is not your fault. This person is a criminal. And if they decide to pursue it, great. If they decide not to pursue it, that is their choice because it is their life. They have to deal with it however they deal with it. But it would be nice to pursue it to keep this person from continually perpetrating on other people, preying on
Right.
people who they think, "Oh, well, this is a good victim kind of person because they'll never tell on me." Yeah, no, we're not. We are becoming more and more strong as we confront this as a society and as women. We are very strong in numbers, and we got to, Me Too. That's what we got to do. Keep the Me Too going forever and get rid of this socialization that somehow men get to do this and it's their right to. Incels, oh, yeah. Yeah, I can tell you why you're celibate. It's probably because you're a jerk. It doesn't have to do with a woman not liking you. You're a jerk. And maybe they're lesbian and they don't care about you because you're a man.
Yeah.
Don't blame other people, buddy. It's on you.
I have something I wanted to add too is talk to your daughters. I was very naive. I wasn't told much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
When my mother said to me, maybe I was 10 or 11, and she said, "Patty, if you have any questions about sex, come to me." So I thought about that a while, and then I came to her and I said, "Mom, when a Mom and Dad do this, have sex. Is this something you do every night? Because I had no idea. And this was her answer to me: Patty, don't be vulgar. So I learned right then never to go to her. I went to my public library. I looked things up and taught myself. Um, but anyway, talk to your daughters, your nieces. Well, really, it should be maybe by the parents, but encourage them to talk to their daughters. When I was so naive, when I was 19, I was assaulted by a medical doctor, and I didn't know better, although I was very uncomfortable. I had gone to a walk-in clinic to get treated for a sore throat. The doctor was an old guy, and he was in the room with me, and anytime they do a personal or intimate type of exam, they're supposed to have another person in the room. I didn't know that at the time. It was just him and me, and he said, I need to do a breast exam. So I had to take my shirt off and my bra, and then he did the breast exam, and then he said, okay, hold on a second, I'll be back in a minute. He's going to go write a prescription, right? He comes back in the room, and I'm dressed. I'm dressed again now, and he goes, take your shirt off. I need to check you again. Now, the Patty I have in my fantasy world got up and kneed him in the balls as hard as I could. But the Patty I was back then was dutiful and obedient and let him feel me up again and get his jollies. And who knows how many young teenage or young women. I think I was 18 or 19. So that's what I wanted to add. Talk to your daughters.
Definitely talk to your daughters.
Yeah.
When I married my husband at the time, he knew of the assault. He knew my history, and I said to him when I was pregnant, if I have a daughter and I find out you touch her, I'll kill you. I mean, I won't. I don't care if I go to jail forever. Somebody will raise my child, but I'll kill you. And I have talked to I did talk to my daughter. I talked to my son as well to say, not only shouldn't this happen to a woman, this shouldn't happen to a man, shouldn't happen to a boy or a girl, and you yourself will never do this to a woman because you're of equal stature, you're of equal importance, you're an equal human being. So don't ever think that women are less than you. And I've spoken with my daughter since then and said, so tell me, did your dad ever do anything? And she said, no, he can be creepy, but he never did anything like that. So I was glad that he believed me because he'd be a dead man, just saying. So yeah, talk to anybody who seems as though, and if anybody has questions for you, if they open up to you, take that as a great privilege, a great honor that they open up to you and
trust you.
They trust you. Do not belittle them. Don't. Oh, how could you do that? What did you do to was your skirt too short? You could go nude, and they don't have the right to touch you. So be supportive, and it's really good not to talk too much, but just to listen. Just listen and support.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Thank you so much, LaRuby.
Good luck.
I appreciate that you chiming in because she knows, and she's the one I turn to now, and she always helps me. I don't know if I even talked to her. We're almost to the 30-minute mark, so I got to wrap this up. But I just wanted to say I happened to find this video on YouTube, and it was a group of Italian women, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, mothers, all these generations. The older women were talking about the abuse they had gone through in their life younger. And others were chiming in, yeah, that happened to me too. And it just made me think, it's just so prevalent.
It's been forever.
I really started getting kind of depressed about this, but
don't be depressed.
Being
be
around
strong.
her helps me so
strong.
much. And we're at 29 minutes now. And so thank you all for listening. I hope this in some way, might help somebody. And I'm going to be back and talk to you about my journey with cancer, and I'm going to talk to you about racism too. So, we're at 29 minutes, so I got to sign off now. So, everybody take care.
Live long, prosper.
Yeah.